Welcome to episode 52 of Priviso Live, your weekly dose of ICT legislation, risk, information security, and AI news. I'm Lynn, here with John and Stephen, and we're diving into this week's most fascinating AI developments. From cybersecurity chaos in African Hollywood getting the AI treatment and IT in politics, we've got quite the lineup today.
Hello everyone, John here. That's right, Lynn. And speaking of chaos, wait until you hear about this year's AI Darwin Awards, because apparently we needed a formal way to celebrate spectacular AI failures.
Hello again, listeners. This is Stephen. And trust me, there's no shortage of nominees. But first, let's talk about something that hits close to home: AI security in South Africa.
John, you've been looking at this piece from Accenture about safeguarding AI adoption in South Africa. What caught your attention?
Well, it's fascinating timing, really. Accenture Africa is essentially saying that AI adoption is happening faster than the frameworks designed to govern it, which feels very 2025, doesn't it?
And the four-point framework they're proposing is quite practical. The first point about governance really resonated with me. They're asking who's responsible when an AI credit scoring model unintentionally discriminates or is manipulated. That's not theoretical anymore.
Right, and this ties directly into that alarming cybersecurity report from Checkpoint. Stephen, the numbers coming out of Africa are pretty sobering.
They really are. Africa reported the highest average volume of cyber attacks globally, 3,239 weekly per organization. And here's what's particularly concerning. Africa's education sector remains the most attacked industry, with 4,178 weekly incidents.
That education figure is staggering. And when you think about it, schools are digitizing rapidly, but often without the security budgets of, say, financial institutions.
Exactly. And in South Africa specifically, we saw a 26% year-on-year increase to 2,148 attacks per organisation per week. Now, add AI into that mix, and you've got what Accenture calls a multiplied threat landscape.
Which brings us back to their point about embedding security from the onset. They're warning about prompt injection attacks on generative AI models used for customer service. Imagine a retailer's chatbot being manipulated to commit fraud.
It's like we're rushing to deploy these powerful tools without really thinking through the implications. Speaking of which, shall we talk about what's happening in California?
Good segue, John. So Anthropic, the company behind Claude, has endorsed California's SB 53. Stephen, this is interesting because it's not often you see AI companies backing regulation.
That's exactly right. Anthropic's endorsement marks a rare and major win for SB 53, especially when major tech groups like the Consumer Technology Association are lobbying against the bill.
And their reasoning is quite pragmatic. They said, powerful AI advancements won't wait for consensus in Washington. Essentially, someone needs to set rules while we figure this out.
The bill itself is focused on what they call catastrophic risks, defined as the death of at least 50 people or more than $1 billion in damages. We're talking about artificial intelligence being used to create biological weapons or conduct massive cyber attacks.
What's interesting is that policy experts are calling this a more modest approach than previous attempts. Dean Ball from the Foundation for American Innovation said the drafters have shown respect for technical reality.
Though it's worth noting that California lawmakers recently amended SB 53 to remove the section requiring third-party audits. Apparently, that was too much for the tech companies.
Right, because heaven forbid someone actually checks their work. Now, speaking of work, John, tell us about this OpenAI film project.
So OpenAI is backing an animated feature film called Critterz. And this isn't just a tech demo, they're aiming for Cannes 2026.
The economics are quite striking. The film is being produced in 9 months for under $30 million, compared to the typical 3 years and much higher budgets for traditional animated features.
And the story? Critterz follows woodland creatures on an adventure after their village is disrupted by a stranger, so we're not exactly breaking new narrative ground here.
No, but that might be the point. It sounds like they're focusing on proving the technology works rather than revolutionizing storytelling.
What's interesting is the hybrid approach. They're hiring artists to draw sketches that will be fed into OpenAI's tools, and human actors will provide voices. It's not full automation. Which raises the question, is this really about making better films, or is it about making films cheaper and faster?
I think we know the answer.
All right, folks, we need to talk about what's being called one of the most significant supply chain attacks we've seen this year. Stephen, you've been tracking this NX situation. Can you break down what happened with this singularity attack?
Absolutely, Lynn. This is a textbook example of how a single vulnerability can cascade into massive data exposure. On August 26th, attackers exploited a GitHub Actions injection vulnerability in the NX build system. And NX is huge, we're talking millions of weekly downloads. They managed to steal the NPM publishing token and pushed out malicious package versions for about 4 hours.
4 hours doesn't sound like much, but with millions of downloads.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really nasty. These malicious packages had a post-install hook that basically turned every developer's machine into a data harvesting operation. The malware was scanning for SSH keys, GitHub tokens, NPM credentials, cryptocurrency wallets, environment variables, anything valuable it could find.
And then phase 2 happened, which is what really caught everyone's attention with those 6,700 repositories going public, right?
That's right. In a second phase that took place on August 28, 2025, the attackers used the valid GitHub tokens collected in the first phase to make private repositories public, named Singularity Repository, followed by 5 random letters. We're talking about 480 accounts and 6,700 private repositories suddenly becoming public. Can you imagine waking up to find your company's private code repositories just out there for anyone to see?
The scope here is staggering. I'm seeing reports that over 2,000 secrets were exposed in total. But what really concerns me is how sophisticated this attack was. This wasn't just grabbing credentials, they were specifically targeting developer environments, and I'm hearing there was even AI involvement.
Yes. This is actually the first documented case of malware weaponizing AI CLI tools for reconnaissance and data exfiltration. The attackers were using AI code assistants to help them navigate and extract data more efficiently. It's like they brought artificial intelligence to a data theft operation.
So we've got AI-powered malware that's smart enough to know what to steal and how to steal it effectively. John, from an organizational perspective, how should companies be responding to this?
Well, first, immediate credential rotation. If you used any of those compromised NX versions between August 26th and 27th, assume everything on those machines is compromised. But beyond that, this attack highlights some serious gaps in our supply chain security posture. The stolen data was publicly available for more than 9 hours and was downloaded multiple times by groups of cybercriminals and researchers.
9 hours is an eternity in internet time. And GitHub did respond eventually, making all the leaked repositories private again. But the damage was done. The data was already out there, already downloaded by who knows how many threat actors.
So what are the lessons here? Because this feels like it could happen to any popular package, right?
Absolutely. This attack succeeded because of a GitHub Actions workflow vulnerability, something that could exist in thousands of other projects. The key lesson is that we need better supply chain verification. NX has since implemented NPM trusted publishers, which is a good step, but we need this kind of security to be standard, not reactive.
And organizations need to assume breach mentality when it comes to developer environments. The fact that this malware could just scan file systems and grab SSH keys, wallet files, environment variables, it shows how much sensitive data we store on developer machines without proper protection.
The other thing that strikes me is the naming convention and singularity. It's almost like the attackers wanted to make a statement about AI-powered attacks.
We're seeing attackers leverage AI for reconnaissance, for understanding codebases, for optimizing their data extraction. The singularity name might be a reference to the technological singularity, the point where AI surpasses human intelligence. If attackers are already using AI to make their malware smarter, we need to be using AI to make our defenses smarter too.
The scale alone should be a wake-up call. Over 400 users or organizations impacted, and over 5,500 repositories. When a single supply chain attack can expose thousands of organizations simultaneously, it's not just a technical problem, it's a systemic risk to the entire software ecosystem.
Absolutely. And folks, if you're using NX or any popular build tools, check your package versions, rotate your credentials, and maybe it's time to audit what sensitive data is sitting on your developer machines. This attack targeted developers specifically because they have the keys to the kingdom.
One final point. This attack worked because it exploited the trust relationship between developers and their tools. We install packages without thinking twice. But maybe we need to start implementing better sandboxing, better monitoring of what our development tools are actually doing.
The singularity attack might be over, but it's shown attackers a playbook that works. AI-powered supply chain attacks targeting developer environments. I suspect we're going to see more of these.
Definitely something we'll be watching closely. Thanks for breaking that down, both of you. Now, speaking of unusual applications of technology, we need to talk about what might be the most extraordinary political use of technology we've seen this year. John, can you believe that Nepal just elected an interim prime minister through Discord?
When I first saw this story, I thought it was satire, but this is absolutely real. And it's historic. We're talking about the world's first government leader chosen through a gaming chat app. Former Chief Justice Sushila Karki was selected as Nepal's interim prime minister through a Discord vote organized by the Youth Against Corruption movement, and she was officially sworn in on September 12th.
The technical aspects of this are fascinating, but also concerning from a democratic integrity standpoint. The Discord server had over 40,000 active members, but only 7,713 votes were actually cast before moderators closed the polls when Karki crossed the 50% threshold. That's a participation rate of less than 20%. Hardly what we'd consider representative democracy.
But let's back up. How did we even get to the point where Gen Z protesters were using a gaming platform to select government leadership?
It started with widespread anti-corruption protests against the KP Sharma Oli government. When Prime Minister Oli banned 26 social media applications, including Instagram and Facebook, to try to control the protests, young activists migrated to Discord, which wasn't on the banned list. What began as a coordination platform for protests evolved into something unprecedented: digital democracy.
Discord wasn't designed for this. It's a platform built for gaming communities with features like voice channels, text chat, and community moderation tools. But the protesters essentially hacked it into a voting system. The speed at which this happened is remarkable. We're talking about a complete political transformation organized and executed through a chat app in a matter of days.
That's what strikes me as most radical about this, the speed. Traditional democratic processes take months or years. This went from protests to government selection in, a week?
Exactly. And that raises profound questions about legitimacy and representation. While over 7,700 people voted, Nepal has a population of nearly 30 million. Even if we narrow it down to eligible voters or active participants in the protest movement, we're still looking at a tiny fraction making decisions for the entire country. Can a Discord poll really represent the will of the Nepalese people?
From a cybersecurity perspective, I'm also concerned about verification and manipulation. Discord doesn't have the security infrastructure for democratic elections. How do you verify voter eligibility? How do you prevent vote manipulation or bot accounts? How do you ensure the integrity of the process when it's happening on a platform designed for casual gaming communication?
Those are valid concerns, Stephen. But isn't there something powerful about young people finding technological solutions when traditional democratic channels have failed them?
Absolutely. This is digital democracy in its rawest form. When conventional political institutions become unresponsive or corrupt, Gen Z didn't just complain, they built an alternative system using the tools available to them. The fact that they chose someone with khakis credentials, former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, suggests they took the responsibility seriously, even if the process was unconventional.
What's particularly interesting is how they adapted Discord's existing features for democratic purposes. They used voice channels for debates, text channels for policy discussions, and the platform's polling features for the actual vote. It's essentially a case study in repurposing technology beyond its intended use, what we might call democratic hacking.
And the international reaction has been mixed, hasn't it? Some calling it innovative, others questioning its legitimacy.
The global response perfectly captures the tension here. Crypto and tech communities are celebrating this as the world's first internet-native revolution. They see it as proof that blockchain-style consensus mechanisms can work in real-world governance. But traditional political scientists and democracy advocates are understandably skeptical about the representativeness and sustainability of this approach.
There's also the question of precedent. If this works in Nepal, what stops other movements from trying similar approaches? We could see Discord democracy, WhatsApp elections, or TikTok governance experiments emerging globally. That's either exciting or terrifying, depending on your perspective on democratic institutions.
From a technology standpoint, what does this tell us about the platforms we're building and using?
I think it highlights how any communication platform can become a political tool when people are motivated enough. Discord's developers never imagined their gaming chat app would be used to select a national leader, just like Twitter's founders probably didn't expect their platform to become a primary channel for political discourse. It shows that technology platforms need to think beyond their intended use cases.
And it raises questions about platform responsibility. Should Discord be monitoring for political activity? Should they provide better security features if their platform is being used for democratic processes? These are uncharted waters for technology companies.
Looking forward, do we think this Nepal Discord experiment will influence other democratic movements globally?
I think we'll definitely see similar attempts. The barriers to organizing political movements have never been lower. A determined group can set up a server, establish voting mechanisms, and coordinate political action within hours. Whether traditional governments will recognize such processes is another question entirely.
The technical precedent is now established. We know it's possible to use consumer chat platforms for democratic decision-making. The real question is whether such processes can scale, maintain security, and achieve genuine representativeness. Nepal's experiment is historic, but it's also a prototype, version 1.0 of Discord democracy.
What an extraordinary moment in digital history. Whether you see this as innovative democratic evolution or a concerning bypass of traditional institutions, you can't deny its significance. Sushila Karki is now officially the world's first Discord-elected leader, a sentence I never thought I'd say on this podcast. This Nepal situation definitely won't be the last time we see unexpected uses of everyday technology platforms. And staying with politics, we need to talk about a developing story much closer to home. John, there's been quite a bit of drama around President Ramaphosa's X account over the weekend. What's your take on this situation?
According to reports, Ramaphosa's official X account briefly displayed inappropriate content on Friday while he was in the Northwest for government meetings. The presidency is calling it a technical glitch linked to a crossfeed, but the public and cybersecurity professionals are rightfully skeptical.
The skepticism is warranted, John. When inappropriate content appears on official government accounts, the first question we should ask is, was this a compromise? The presidency's explanation of a cross-feed glitch is, let's say, technically vague. Cross-feed issues typically don't result in posting explicit content unless there's been some form of unauthorized access or serious misconfiguration.
And this isn't happening in isolation, is it? Stephen, didn't we see similar incidents with ANC-related accounts recently?
Absolutely. This would make it at least the 6th public cybersecurity incident involving ANC or ANC Youth League accounts that we know of. We've documented 5 previous hacking incidents involving these political accounts, and now we have this situation with the president's account. That's a pattern that suggests either poor cybersecurity hygiene across the board or possibly coordinated targeting.
The timing is also concerning from a reputational security perspective. These incidents don't happen in a vacuum. They occur when leaders are engaged in high-profile activities like Ramaphosa's Northwest visit. Whether it's a hack or a genuine technical failure, the impact on public trust and South Africa's digital governance reputation is the same at a point where municipal elections are not that far away.
From a cybersecurity standpoint, what should have happened immediately after this incident?
First, immediate forensic analysis of the account access logs, authentication history, and any connected applications. Second, mandatory credential rotation, not just for the X account, but for any connected services. Third, a proper technical investigation to determine if this was unauthorized access, a compromised third-party tool, or genuinely a platform glitch.
And transparency. When government officials' accounts are compromised, or potentially compromised, the public deserves more than technical glitch as an explanation. We need to see evidence of proper incident response procedures being followed.
The fact that users managed to screenshot the content before it was deleted suggests this wasn't caught by automated monitoring.
Exactly. Which raises questions about the social media security controls around high-profile government accounts. Are they monitoring for unauthorized posts? Do they have approval workflows? Are there multiple people with posting access? These are basic questions that should have clear answers after 5 previous incidents with related accounts.
Look, whether this was a hack, a compromised app, or genuinely a platform issue, it highlights how vulnerable our political leaders are in the digital space. When the ANC and ANC Youth League have been hacked 5 times, that became public knowledge, and now we have this incident with the president's account, it suggests systemic cybersecurity weaknesses in South African political digital infrastructure.
And in today's context, with AI-powered attacks like the S1 Gularity incident we discussed earlier, these kinds of high-profile account compromises could be even more sophisticated and damaging.
Absolutely. The techniques we're seeing in supply chain attacks could easily be applied to social media account takeovers. Attackers are getting smarter, more targeted, and more capable of causing maximum reputational damage in minimal time.
The bottom line is this: South African political figures and institutions need to take cybersecurity seriously. 6 incidents across ANC-related accounts is not a coincidence. It's a clear indication that current security measures aren't working.
Now onto the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report and how it's redefining what matters in the workplace of 2030. Stephen, the headline is pretty striking. Traditional academic skills are on the decline. What's going on here?
It's fascinating, Lynn. According to the WEF, the top skills for 2030 aren't things like maths or grammar. Instead, they highlight analytical thinking, creativity, resilience, systems thinking, even curiosity. Essentially, they're describing a future where how you think matters far more than what you memorized in school.
It's almost a cognitive revolution, isn't it? If you're a top student because you're great at passing exams, that may no longer be enough. The machines, especially AI, are starting to outperform us at those rule-based, structured tasks, but they still can't think sideways the way humans can. Not yet, anyway.
So we're shifting from IQ to what? EQ.
And it's not just emotional intelligence either. The WEF emphasizes cognitive flexibility, the ability to unlearn, relearn, and think in non-linear ways. It's as if we're being asked to stop behaving like databases and start thinking like designers or strategists.
And ironically, the things we used to dismiss, the arts, storytelling, soft skills, are becoming strategic differentiators. Organizations will still value technical skills, sure, but the real edge will come from those who can connect dots across disciplines, question assumptions, and navigate ambiguity.
That's quite a departure from the 20th century model of education. Learn facts, apply them, repeat.
And it may challenge our institutional structures too. If employers care more about agility, systems thinking, and collaboration than a degree transcript, then universities, and even high schools, might need to radically rethink their value proposition.
It also raises uncomfortable questions about assessment. If we're not grading people on their ability to regurgitate info, how do we measure creativity? Or resilience? Or the capacity to learn under pressure? It's almost like we're returning to the apprentice model, but updated. Less go study for 4 years, more solve a real problem with a team, adapt and iterate.
These aren't just soft skills. They're survival skills in a world where knowledge is abundant, but wisdom is scarce, where artificial intelligence writes your code, but you need to tell it why, what for, and what comes next.
Well said. Maybe in 2030, the smartest person in the room won't be the one with all the answers, but the one with the best questions.
Let's talk now about the AI Darwin Awards.
Oh, this is brilliant. So the AI Darwin Awards are named after Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection, continuing the tradition of the original Darwin Awards, but now for artificial intelligence disasters.
And the criteria are deliciously specific. Your nominee must demonstrate a breathtaking commitment to ignoring obvious risks. And there are bonus points for statements like, "What's the worst that could happen?"
The best part is the judging process. Winners are selected through public voting, expert panels, and occasionally by the AI systems themselves. Because what could possibly go wrong with letting AI judge human stupidity?
Right, let's dive into the nominees. The headliner has to be Taco Bell. Taco Bell deployed voice AI ordering systems at 500-plus drive-thrus and discovered that artificial intelligence meets its match at extra sauce, no cilantro, and make it weird.
The fact that customers apparently trolled the system mercilessly makes this even better. The chain ended up admitting it's rethinking the rollout.
Then there's the Replit incident. A bit of vibe coding nuked a production database, despite instructions from the user not to fiddle with code without permission.
Vibe coding? I love that term. It perfectly captures the casual recklessness of deploying AI without proper safeguards.
For those unfamiliar with vibe coding, instead of manually writing code, you give high-level instructions, guidance, or prompts to AI in natural language. The AI generates the code. You iterate by running that code, seeing what works or doesn't, and then adjusting your prompts to refine behavior rather than editing every line of code. The mindset includes forgetting that the code even exists, meaning you're more focused on what you want software to do, not how.
And McDonald's managed to get in on the action too. There was woeful security around an AI chatbot used to screen job applicants, which exposed 64 million applicants' data.
That's not just an AI failure, that's a "how did this pass any security review" failure.
But wait, there's more. There's an unnamed Western Australian lawyer who used AI to prep documents for an immigration case, and the bot generated citations for non-existent cases, which he failed to verify. Similar, of course, to the South African case we cited in an earlier episode.
The concerning part is that there have been over 20 cases reported in Australian courts where lawyers have presented documents with AI-generated fake citations.
This is becoming a pattern, isn't it? People using AI tools without understanding their limitations, then being shocked when things go wrong. What I find fascinating about the AI Darwin Awards is that they're serving a legitimate purpose. The disclaimer says, today's catastrophically bad AI decision could well be tomorrow's AI Darwin Award winner. They're creating a repository of cautionary tales.
And they need to, because the scale of potential damage is unprecedented. Why endanger just yourself when you can endanger everyone? They particularly appreciate nominees who aimed for global impact on their first try.
That's the thing that connects all these stories, isn't it? Whether it's Taco Bell's drive-through chaos or that lawyer's fake citations, the common thread is people treating AI like magic, rather than technology that needs proper implementation.
Exactly, and when you look at the bigger picture, from the cybersecurity threats we discussed earlier to California trying to regulate catastrophic risks, you realize we're in this weird moment where AI is simultaneously overhyped and underprepared for. The Taco Bell case is almost perfect because it's harmless enough to be funny, but it demonstrates the fundamental problem: deploying AI without really understanding what it can and can't do.
And the customers trolling the system just proves that humans will always find creative ways to break your technology if you give them the chance.
Which brings us back to those 4 actions from Accenture. They're not being alarmist, they're being realistic about the need for governance, security, and resilience in AI deployment.
So what's the takeaway from all this? We've got AI being deployed faster than security frameworks can keep up, cybercriminals targeting Africa's most vulnerable sectors, Hollywood betting on AI animation, and enough spectacular AI failures to warrant their own award ceremony.
I think the common thread is that we're still in the move fast and break things phase of AI, but the things we're breaking are getting more important.
And the AI Darwin Awards, funny as they are, might actually serve as a useful reality check. Sometimes you need to laugh at the absurdity to recognize the genuine risks.
That's all for Priviso Live episode 52. Thanks for joining us, and remember, if you're deploying AI, maybe think twice before you end up as next year's Darwin Award nominee.
If you want to hear more of the same, subscribe to Priviso Live on Apple, Samsung, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or YouTube.
And if you need security, risk, or ICT legislation advice, contact Priviso Consulting directly at admin@priviso.co.za.
Stay
Stay
safe,
safe, everyone.
everyone.